In order to gain the strength, one must have these challenges. One must get hammered into, the healing medicine that you will become as a person, right? Not just your medicine, but you will transform yourself.
Welcome to the podcast, Tapping Creativity, with myself, Matthew C. Temple. And each week, we're going to dive into questions and issues and inspiration around creativity and the creative process.
Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Tapping Creativity. And I want to talk just a little bit about the hero's journey, a theme that I continually come back to. And if you're someone who has ever worked with me, or if you've bought my book, there's a 12-part video series that I created called The Creative's Journey as the Hero's Journey. And that's because the experience of being a creative very much mirrors the experience of a hero. And the steps along the hero's journey can be very disheartening because the path of a hero is fraught with failure after failure after failure. That's one of the hallmarks. A hero is one who takes their poison, turns it into their medicine, takes their pains or their weaknesses and turns them into their strengths and their powers. And so in order to gain the medicine, one must have poison. In order to gain the strength, one must have these challenges. One must get hammered into, the healing medicine that you will become as a person, right? Not just your medicine, but you will transform yourself. The alchemists also had this idea of changing base metal into gold. We have to understand that wasn't just a chemical thing being done in the lab. Here we are in 2022. We haven't quite figured out how to turn lead into gold. But what we have done is to understand that metaphor of turning ourselves, our everyday normal human self, into something which is next to divine. We can just from human to an initiate, from a person to a hero, from base metal into gold, from poison into medicine. This is the process. So the hero's journey, one of the things that I love so much about it, it's just we can find so much of the challenges that we face in our life as actually really key steps to being the hero of the life that we are living into. And so I've been, kind of coming back again to Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. And this time I'm coming through as, not just trying to kind of like get through the book and get some of the concepts so I can, incorporate those or whatever, which is a little bit unfair. Obviously, I've done some work on it with Jeff and Louisa Barnum from Magenta Studios. I have created this 12-part video series. So I'm not a total novice to it by any means, but at the same time, there are the pieces that you kind of pick up, and I just want to go back and really take it just another pass. I've grown since the last time I've read it. I've learned a lot. I've struggled a lot. I've had a whole bunch of new sets of challenges. I think even sort of coming out of the last couple of years, we all have. And when I say we all have, it doesn't mean that sure, it's been a really great couple of years for me, and I know others have suffered and some have had this whole breadth of experience of what's happened. There have been challenges during those times, this thing the world was going through in these last couple of years, and those challenges can and need to be transformed into something that we get to take with us. So we're going through the great challenge and figuring out, sort of the turning this into this medicine. And of course, here I am, I'm broadcasting right now, or broadcasting in air quotes, from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm here with Sarah. She's setting up a new workshop for Ecodunia, her social enterprise. And I've been working 14-hour days with her, helping get that off the ground and coming back because this has been so much of what I've been doing this last month, and now kind of refocusing and looking at some areas where I've been having challenges, where things that I've been trying to build up are not going my way. A few months ago, I decided I was going to apply to a couple of top universities to do a doctoral program, and I just found out that so far I've been rejected from 3, which is fine. One of them was an Ivy League school, and One of them was a top program in the country, even the world, for in that department. So it was this putting this out there into the world, and I'm kind of getting one rejection letter after the other, and it brings these questions back up again, like what am I doing again? And I think these questions, I think one of the things that is now also interesting for me, being in it and also reading about it and talking about it, is that the challenge doesn't stop becoming a challenge just because it's a challenge. It still needs to be a challenge. I'm in my 40s. I'm not in my 70s or 80s. I'm not at the end of my, at the end of my run. I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of this hero's journey. And therefore, these challenges are going to come. And I know they're coming. And I also have a propensity for enjoying the challenge. I have this weird thing that when it comes to internal work and internal struggle and some of the pain that comes with it, there's a part of me that really enjoys that. There are like gym rats who love the burn of sore muscles. And so they can go and lift and lift and lift. And the next day it's like, oh, I'm sore, and it's sore that feels good. And I have a little bit of that with the way that I engage in my inner work, my inner life, some of these pains and struggles. I'm like, ooh, it's kind of like being at the gym of internal life. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean it's not a struggle. It doesn't mean that just because I know I can glide through, because knowledge is, it gets stuck here, right? It gets stuck in the head. So you get something new and you're like, oh, I've understood that now. But that understanding in the brain is simply it's like it hasn't even scratched the surface. It's like maybe it scratched the surface, says, hey, here's a little place. There's a little marker where you actually now have to come and dig for a really, really long time. Or the other way I like to really think about it is that it comes into the head and it stays here. It stays in the head until it can pass down through, until it can incorporate, right? Which comes from the Latin, coming into the body. So it's incorporating, and it has to get all the way into the body. It has to just become your body almost, as it were. And so this place of coming to an understanding is just the very beginning, and now it's doing the work so that it gets into the cells, and therefore it doesn't have to be something that you have to remember or think about it, almost where it's beyond knowledge because it is incorporated. It's just part of you. As a heartbeat, you're not thinking about your heart beating. You're not thinking about taking a breath. Those things are happening. And this understanding, once it incorporates, doesn't need to be thought about or remembered. And so, as I've been kind of coming through, this section I was reading this morning was that this place where a hero can come to, where, and many people come to this beginning point of the hero being on the hero's journey. And it's this recognizing that if I'm really going to grow, if I'm going to become the hero, I actually have to go outside of the social confines that were given to me. So I have to break out of this space. Now, you get to the edge, and I think a lot of times in our lives, we come to the edge of this and we think, and particularly as artists or creatives, it's living at this edge of where we're supposed to go, or the known. And Joseph Campbell writes about all of these old myths where there's this danger if you go outside of where you're supposed to go. There's the leviathans if you sail too far to sea. There are different nymphs or fairies or monsters or goblins that are outside of the place where we're told this is where we're supposed to go. And that's all just this metaphor for keep your mind. Society tells you to do this, or religion tells you to do that. Stay there. If you go outside of that, there are monsters. And I think a lot of us as creatives will get to the edge of that. And we may even go past that, and we're encountering these monsters. And as we encounter those monsters, we're going to be failing over and over and over again. And we may look around and we're going to see other people don't seem to be quite facing those monsters the way we are. And like, am I making a mistake? Am I a failure? And one of the things that I just wanted to talk about today is that point where you can actually get lost. And I was writing this, right? So I'm just going to kind of share what I was journaling this morning. The hero knows that they must cross that first supernatural threshold to the wisdom that lies outside the bounds that were given to us. But this sort of hero, the creative, doesn't yet have the capacity. So if we build that capacity, we can actually be a hero or an initiate. And if not, we can actually get to the point where we're wandering, at least internally, and perhaps even remain feeling like we're on the outside. And so as we're looking forward into this week as artists, as creatives, and we know that we have this tendency to be like, we're going to go outside the space that we're supposed to go. We're daring to go there. But when we get there, we're not heroes yet. We don't have, or if we are, we don't really have the capacity. If you feel like you're the hero already and you have all of this, you have it all. Are you an initiate? Have you really gained that wisdom? Or are you going to sort of be out at this place where you're like, oh shoot, I'm stuck. I'm a little bit lost here. And now we actually have to say, okay, this is a good place to be. But now the big piece has to come in building now the capacity so that we don't stay lost out there, so that we're not sort of lost or wandering internally for our whole lives. We have to get lost. We have to wander. We have to fail. But out there is that place where we really need to be building the capacity so that we truly become the hero, so that eventually we become the initiate, so that we actually do the work that we knew we could do because we got there. But dang, is it scary. And dang, we're not prepared for it. We don't need to retreat. And we also don't need to stay out there saying, well, I know in there doesn't work for me. They don't understand me, so I'm going to kind of isolate myself out here and just kind of feel a little stuck. It's like, no, this is the place where we need to be, but we're going to continue to build the capacity to be heroes, to become initiates. That's what we get to really focus on this week. So with that, I wish you a powerful and amazing and creative week as a hero on the way to initiation.